mistake. ואם כתב פתוחה או סתומה במקום שאין צריך, או שחיסרה, בכל אלו צריך להוציא אחרת. Or you made it a parasha ptucha or stuma in a place that there's no new paragraph. You just created your own paragraph, or you closed the paragraph that was supposed to be open. In all those cases, you have to bring a different sefer Torah. Or if you have two words that you did not distance them from one another enough. Now, every word has to have a distance of a small letter between it and the next or previous word. Like a yud, with the same ktav. If a tinok, you bring a 5-year-old, 4 or 5-year-old that knows Aleph Bit but doesn't know clear Kriya, and he reads them together as one word, you can't differentiate that this is two words, that's considered a ta'ut that is big enough to take another Sefer Torah out. Or the reverse. If you have one word and you distanced the two letters that are supposed to be part of one word enough that they look like two different words written, that also is the same thing. The same type of kid that knows how to read but not very sophisticated would read them as two different letters. That also would be considered, of course, a large mistake. Like or kedar laomer or pedasur elisur aminadav v'chahena shemekubal beyadenu shtva achati. Kedar laomer is written as one word. That's our mesorah. Pedasur, same thing. Elitzur, same thing. Aminadav, even though that Elitzur, Aminadav, all those are two words that are combined, but our mesorah is that they're written as one word. So if this sofer made a mistake and wrote them as two words, then it's going to be, if they're written like in two lines, Kedar Laomer, then it's going to be a large mistake, and you have to be taking a new Sefer Torah out. Now, if you have at the end of a word, you have an ending letter, endenun, endemem, like mem sofit, nun sofit. You have. Then Kaf HaChaim writes that in Shat HaDachak, it's okay. You could rely on the fact that they say it would be mutar in this case, and not to take another Sefer Torah out, right? So depending on really what the word is, sometimes it becomes a shelat chacham. You have to ask whether or not the person could be relying on those who are more mekel. Says the Mishna Berura, if you have letters or words that are a little bit erased, again, in the older Sefer Torahs it happens more often. If still the effect of the ink on the cloth is clearly there, so a little kid, the same kid, could look at it and read what was written there. Then you don't have to bring a different Sefer Torah out. You can rely on that existing Sefer Torah that you took out first. And the same thing would be if one of the letters, it's questionable if it looks like the letter that it should be or not, and you bring a tinok and he reads it like a different letter, but then another kid, smarter, comes and see that the halachically speaking, the letter is written properly. The Kaf HaChaim says that even though that you have to fix that oath, but you don't have to bring another Sefer Torah. In other words, sometimes we ask kids for assistance because we want to know how it looks, the letter. But then there are halachic classifications for every ot as well. A shin has to be written a certain way. Aleph has to be written a certain way. The bet and the chaf and the all. So if a chacham comes and takes a look, says this is kasher. It's not such a question. Then you don't have to ask a tinok necessarily. Sometimes when it's doubtful, then you ask a tinok to make sure that this is written properly. But you don't have to go every question that you have. So what if you did it the other way around? You first asked the tinok, and the tinok said, well, this looks like a different letter. But then the chacham comes and says, no, this is not really a sheila. I understand it doesn't look beautiful, but it's kasher halachically speaking. So then, says the Chafetz Chaim, says the Kaf HaChaim as well, that you don't have to bring a new Sefer Torah. You have to fix that oath. You want it to look beautiful and nice, but you don't have to bring another Sefer Torah out at this point. Says the Mishnah Berura, ובפרט לעניין להוציא אחרת בוודאי אין להחמיר בזה, נקראו התפירות שבין יריעה ליריעה, if the sewing between the clefts of the Sefer Torah have been ripped, אפילו נקרא הרוב ודאי מחובר בחמש, even if the majority has been ripped, but it's מחוברת בחמש or בשש תפירות, still has 5 or 6 stitches that are standing, then kasher, then still kasher. אבל בפחות מזה, less than 5, יש להוציא אחרת. Then the Sefer Torah is considered 2 different pieces, and it's not a kosher Sefer Torah. You have to bring another one out. Of course, lechatchila you want to fix all those tefirot and not leave it half ripped, but as long as he has 5 or 6, that would be kasher. So says the Mishnah Berura, how about if you have a letter touching another letter? Right? So what happens with that? Now, im b'shat kriya nimtza ot echad davuk lechavero. You're reading the Sefer Torah, and you find one letter is attached to another letter. If the entire length of the ot is attached, or it looks like a different letter now because of the attachment, or you wrote dalet instead of resh, or hey instead of dalet that we had, right? Or bet b'mukom chaf, you wrote bet instead of chaf. Bechol elu dinam keta'ut kama. That's a full-fledged ta'ut shesarich lo hotzi acheret. You have to take another one out. ואפילו אם על ידי דיבוק זה לא נתקלקל אות השורש. Even though that this attachment does not ruin the actual word, you could just take some ink off and it will be fine. And it was not the shoresh of the word, it was like a vav hachibur, or yuda meshameshet. All of those still will be completely pasul, and you have to take another Sefer Torah out. Again, the details of this are many, and just for samples, we're showing some of the cases that are here. The Mishnah Berura has a long arichut over here, and all of the details of things that render a Sefer Torah pasul and things that don't render a Sefer Torah pasul, and therefore we're not going to go necessarily through all of them. Just suffice by some examples, and we'll leave it for people to study and ask questions again in those cases that are more relevant. Now, says the Shulchan Aruch in Seif Hey, Bet Knesset she'en bahem mi sheyodea likro ela echad. You have a Bet Knesset, there is only one person that knows how to read the Sefer Torah. Yevarech ve'yikra k'tzat psukim ve'yivarech la'acharehem. What he should do is, he should read a little bit, say the bracha, read a little bit, and say bracha afterwards. Ve'chozer levarech tchila ve'koreh k'tzat. He himself goes back, says another bracha. He gets aliyat rishon, sheni, shelishi, right? until the end of however many aliyot that there should be over there. כמספר העולים של אותו היום. If it's Shabbat 7, if it's Yom Tov 5, 6, if it's Rosh Chodesh 4, regular days 3. So that's what Maran says a person should do when you have a Bet Knesset that nobody knows how to read. So it says, the Mishna Berura, רצונו לומר שאינם יודעים לקרוא אחרי השליח ציבור מילה במילה מתוך הכתב. They can't even read after the shaliach tzibur word for word from the actual writing of the scroll of Torah, the Sefer Torah. We mentioned this before as Machloket Maran and Rama. Maran is more stringent than you at least have to be able to make the words out when the Chazan is reading it with you. The Rama said nowadays we're not so careful really. Even people who can't really read from the Ketav, they could just read after you by heart. That also we, is sufficient, and we suffice with that. So it says the Mishnah Berura, רצונו לומר שאינם יודעים לקרוא אחרי השליח ציבור מילה במילה מתוך הכתב, המחבר אז לטעמי בסימן קל"ט. We had this before in סימן קל"ט, in the beginning in Seif Bet, that Maran writes over there, באופן זה לא יעלה. In this case, if you can't read from the ketav, from the writing, you should not get an aliyah altogether. אכן, לפי מה שכתב הרמ"א, but the Rema over there disagrees, as we just mentioned, and he holds that we could call up to the Torah, people could actually just repeat after you, word for word, even though that they can't read it from the ketav. כמו שכתבנו שם במשנה ברורה, that's fine. ואם כן, ישתנה הידינה. This din would be different according to the Rama. דלדידן לעולם צריך לקרוא 7 קרואים. According to us, you always should be calling 7 different people. ויברכו והשליח ציבור יוציאם בקריאתו. And they will say bracha. Shliach tzibur would read the Torah for them. They will repeat after him, and that would be it. And that is the psak that seems to be the psak of the Vilna Gaon and the Maharil as well. So therefore, we are a little bit more lenient when it comes to this. Over there, back in Kuf Lamed Tet, we mentioned that the minhag even of the Sfaradim, according to Chacham Obadia, Rabbi Zion, Abba Shaul, and others, is also that we are more lenient, and we allow people to get aliyah, even though they can't read from the Sefer Torah, even after the Shliach tzibur says it. And that's what the Kaf HaChaim writes also. It says, Bizman hazeh, nowadays we are very lenient to bring up people to the Torah, even if they cannot read after the Shliach tzibur, and therefore don't give too many aliyot to the Hazan himself. You give it to 7 different people, and that would be still fine, that would be still okay. That concludes the Siman Kuf Mem Gimal. Be'ezrat Hashem, we will continue in the days to come. Chazak u'Baruch.